Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and thanks for taking a few minutes and tuning in for today's video. And hey, before we get into what I'm going to talk about today, I just want to give everybody a massive thank you for helping me reach 30,000 subscribers today on the channel. And you know, it's taken about a year and a half. I had no idea that the channel would grow this fast. To get to 30,000 this quick, I'm just so humble and grateful, man. I just am so appreciative of everybody that sort of joined me on this adventure. And, you know, keep the comments coming on the videos, guys, because a lot of the content that I'm putting out there is directly a result of what you guys want to hear about. So I encourage everybody to be interactive. Let me know what the videos you guys want to cover. In fact, today's video was on a comment I had yesterday that I'm going to do it on. So that's part of being in this channel with me, man. I just want to interact with people as much as I can and put out the best information that I can. And you know, it's really funny because, you know, when I put out these videos, I don't really know what's going to be successful or not. Some of the videos I put out there that I think that are super informative, they just don't get many views. And some of the ones I put out there that I'm not sure about, they get a lot of views. So you never know. But the thing about it, the YouTube algorithm is really sensitive on this type of stuff. If you have some videos that don't perform well, it really affects your overall channel and it's not as exposed as much. So I just invite everybody out there, you know, watch the videos, like them if you can. And again, thank you for subscribing. And you guys, all you guys out there, that 60% of you dudes that are watching these videos and not subscribing, man, show me and my family some love. Just hit that subscribe button. It'd be much appreciated, man. And I'll try to keep putting out things that are informative and entertaining and maybe irritate you a little bit once in a while. That seems like I ruffle some feathers with some of my comments, but hey, that's okay. We all have opinions, and as long as we respect everybody's opinion, it's okay, I guess. So anyway, let's get into today's topic. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my 5 favorite Megabass rods that I use most of the time, the ones that I use most frequently. I'm going to show you each rod, sort of describe the techniques I like to fish with them. And you know, first of all, I've been with Megabass since 1992. I was with the company way before they even had rods. So I've been with the rod part of the company through the entire evolution of it. And it's grown tremendously. And now, in my opinion, they make the finest rod on the market. I mean, I'm not saying that because I've been with them forever. You know, try one yourself and you be the judge about it. But the components that go into these rods, the quality of the component is what makes the rod good. And Megabass offers, you know, 3 different rod lines, different price points. The one I'm going to talk about today are the Orochi Double X's. Those are the ones I use all the time. Again, I have a chance to use any rod I want to with Megabass. These are the ones that I've chosen that I like the best. I mean, they're just absolutely the best rod in my opinion. So let's get into this a little bit. What we're talking about here is my 5 favorite rods and when I use them. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Orochi Double X Perfect Pitch. Now, this rod is 7 feet 2 inches long. I would consider it like a medium stiff rod. It's just like it said, perfect pitch. It's designed for pitching, not really flipping, but pitching soft plastics. But I use it for a lot of different other things. This is the rod that I use when I throw like the Megabass 6-inch mag draft. Any type of big swim bait that weighs close to an ounce, I'll throw on this. I fish most all my spinner baits on it, anywhere between 1/4 ounce up to an ounce on this rod. It handles the big spinner bait really good. And baits like flukes, you know, some type of those baits where I have to have a lot of power to set the hook. And of course, the mainstay that I use this thing for is when I'm not really pitching and flipping baits, but when I'm casting jigs and soft plastics. Anytime that I'm casting like a finesse jig, like a 5/16 up to 5/8 ounce finesse jig, this is my rod of choice. If I'm fishing a soft plastic stick bait like the Zinky or a Cinco, this is the rod I'm using. Or if I'm Texas rigging, you know, some type of bait that I'm not throwing into cover. Say I'm Texas rigging like a big 10-inch worm in the middle of the summertime out on deep points. This would be a really good rod for it. It's just a really good all-around rod when you need a little bit of power, but you need the ability to be able to make that cast and get good rod action and manipulation on it. But I'm going to guess in the course of a year's time, this rod, I probably use this rod probably 25% of the days that I'm on the water. Okay, the next one we'll get into, this one right here is sort of a specialty rod, but it plays an important role in my fishing, and this is the Megabass launcher. It's actually a design for big crankbaits. It's 7 feet 11 inches long. It's got a fairly, not a soft tip, but I'm going to guess I'd call it a medium action tip. So for a rod that's 7 feet 11 inches long, it's the same length as a flipping stick. Even though you have that length of the flipping stick on it, it's designed basically to cast those big deep diving crankbaits where you need to bomb them way out there in a long distance. So all of my big crankbaits are on this. Anytime that I'm fishing, not just big crankbaits, sometimes I'll throw medium crankbaits anytime that I need a long distance on a bait, because the 7 foot 11 inch length on this thing allows me just to cast that thing out there forever. So big deep diving crankbaits, medium diving crankbaits, but the bait that I fish on this rod more than anything, even above crankbaits, because I do more fishing with this type of bait than I do crankbaits, is a bladed jig. Anytime I'm using like a chatterbait, this is the rod that I found the best on there. It's at 7 feet 11 inches long, but the main thing that I like about this rod for a chatterbait is it's got that good medium action and a fairly stiff butt section on it. And that's what you want with a chatterbait. The key on a chatterbait to not losing fish, because you'll lose a lot of fish on a chatterbait if you throw too stiff of a rod, is to have a rod that's got a medium tip on it. So the medium tip on this particular launcher rod, this is the Orochi XX launcher, when I get that strike on a chatterbait, the soft medium tip allows a little bit of hesitation. I pull into the fish, and then the length of the rod in the butt section gives me a tremendous leverage over fighting the fish. And on top of that, I can cast that chatterbait a long way. And if I get a bite out on a long distance away from the thing, even though I've got a medium tip, I've got the length to move a lot of line on a hook set. And it's just a really good rod for any type of a bladed jig. Once in a while, I'll fish a spinnerbait. Say, for example, if I'm burning a spinnerbait or something like that, I'll use it. Or sometimes I'll use this on a buzzbait with braided line. It's really effective with that. Megabass launcher XX. Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about is the Jerkbait Special. This is the Megabass Orochi Jerkbait Special. It's a 6 foot 11 inch bait casting rod. It's designed for the jerkbait, but like I said, you guys know I don't fish jerkbaits on bait casting rods. But the action of this rod, the 6 foot 11 inch length, and sort of that medium tip on there is absolutely perfect for so many of the crankbaits I like to fish. Any type of like small to medium sized crankbait, like the Megabass Z2 crankbait, if you're fishing a wiggle wart, something like that. This is, or even a square bill. I'll throw a square bill a lot on this rod. Any type of medium running crankbaits, this is my go-to rod. You know, I like the 6 foot 11 inch length on it. I like the medium action, tip that it has on it. It's really a really good rod for that situation. The other situation I use this rod for is my top waters. I found out that the length of this and the tip action, butt section on everything, it makes for a perfect topwater rod for walking top waters, any type like a Zerspook or any type of a popper, like a Pop R. It's just a perfect setup for that. So this is my topwater rod and my sort of a medium crankbait rod. Number 3, Orochi XX Jerkbait Special. Okay, the next two guys are my workhorses. These are the ones that throughout a course of a year, they're almost in my boat every single tournament. I mean, I use these two rods more than any other rods. And the first one is the Megabass flipping stick. This is the Megabass XX Orochi Alkalies flipping stick. This is a 7 feet 10 inch rod. It's got, I'm going to guess, I would call it a heavy tip, not like a super fast, but I'd call it like some type of medium. It's sort of like, it's a stiff, but it's not like a broom handle. So I'd classify it as a heavy, medium, stiff type tip on it. Perfect setup for flipping. I mean, as far as when I'm flipping any baits out there, I don't care if they're a 1/4 ounce or if I'm punching an 1.5 ounce sinker, this is the rod that I'm using. 7 feet 10 inches long, Just perfectly balanced. This is my workhorse. All my pitching and flipping is done with this. On top of the pitching and flipping, I also use this rod if I'm slow rolling a big heavy spinnerbait a lot. You know, I do use the perfect pitch sometimes up to like an ounce spinnerbaits at times. Most of the time, if I'm going to an ounce spinnerbait with big blades, I like this alkali slip and stick on it. I can move that bait. It's a heavy bait. You got to move a lot of power. You got to move that bait a lot quick to penetrate the hook in an ounce spinnerbait. So that's the rod I like for that. And also my glide baits. Anytime I'm using a glide bait, you know, like the Megabass, you know, iSlide 185, something like that, or the big swim baits like the Megabass, you know, 10-inch mag draft. All those big swim baits get fished on this alkali flipping stick too. I'm going to guess that probably at least 50% of the days that I'm on the water, this thing is sitting on the rod of on the deck of my boat. It's just, you know, because I do a lot of pitching and flipping. Also, another thing is I'll use this sometimes if I'm Carolina rigging. I'll use it sometimes if I'm throwing a football head jig, like a 1 ounce football head jig, that I'm making a super long cast, because I can set that hook from a way distance out there with it. And I'm just comfortable with it. This is just a rod I'm very comfortable with for a lot of different techniques. Won a lot of money with this rod, caught a ton of bass on it, and it's just absolutely probably my favorite rod Megabass makes, if I'm going to guess. But the next one I'm going to talk about is right there at it. If I got two, that's going to be the alkali flipping stick, and it's going to be my famous Megabass XX Orochi whip snake spinning rod. And this is I'm going to reframe that. I'm going to say that this is the rod that I use the most during the course of the year by far. The whip snake spinning rod, like I said, is the rod I use for all of my jerkbait fishing. Every single thing, every jerkbait that Megabass makes, I fish on this. And you guys know how much I fish jerkbaits. In addition to that, you know, I fish all my Ned rigs on it. I fish my drop shots. I fish my wacky rigs on it. I fish floating worms on it. I fish little bitty small crankbaits on it. I'll fish, like, you know, small swim baits, like the 2.5 inch small swim baits, like on an 1/8 ounce sinker on there. This thing gets used for everything, man. I fish this rod constantly. This rod is pretty much, it stays in my boat all year long. I don't think there's a tournament that I go to or a day that I fish where I don't have this Megabass XX Orochi whip snake spinning rod in the boat with me. The other spinning rod that I use is the Megabass Shaky Head Special, which is very similar to this. It's a little bit longer. It's got a little bit faster tip. I do use that like for my shaky head fishing and stuff like that. But this this Megabass whip snake spinning rod is absolutely my workhorse. So there's my two right there, the flipping stick and the spinning rod. Sort of like, you know, the complete opposite ends of the spectrum on equipment there. But anyway, guys, that's the five that I use. Like I said, I've had a lot of comments, a lot of questions, people wanting to know what rods I use, and those are it. The main thing about rods, what you want to remember, whether you choose Megabass or whatever, is you need to have a rod that is a combination of comfortable for you to fish with and is the most efficient to use. And when I talk about efficiency, I'm talking about the ability to manipulate action on your lure, your retrieve, vary your cadences, and the ability to set the hook correctly and fight the fish correctly. So there's 4 different applications there. There's 4 different variables. So everybody's got their own favorite rods. Again, this isn't a sales pitch, but I just recommend if you guys are rod shopping, check out the Megabass XX Orochis. I'll include the Fish the Moment Tackle Warehouse link in this description. So if you guys would like to order some rods and you'd like to help out Fish the Moment and what Johnny and I are doing with the channel, and help out my channel too, please use that link, and we get a little proceed of that sale there. So anyway, guys, that's it. That's my Megabass XX Orochi rod lineup. Ones I use every single day that I'm out on the water. I'm very happy with their performance, and thanks once again, guys, for helping me get to 30,000. Much appreciated, and we'll keep kicking the videos out. See you later.